Welcome, my name is Calliope and I'm the sewing specialist here at Fons & Porter. In this Quilting Quickly tutorial, I'm going to show you how to put together the block for the quilt called Calliope. Now, if you'd like to purchase this pattern, you can visit our website and you can attain it there. We are going to be using 2.5 inch pre-cut strips, and you can see in this quilt, it's almost the entire rainbow is included in this, and it's also made from a great group of batiks. And then we're going to be putting a white or cream kind of color with it just to calm it down a little. It's very hot because there's a lot of brights going on, but a great quilt for a kid or even some of us adults who like brights. So we're going to get started with our 2.5 inch strips. And from each of the strips in your packet, you're going to be cutting a certain number of pieces, and you're going to want to probably make yourself a cheat sheet like I did for myself here. Because there's not a lot of waste in this quilt, we're going to be using those pre-cut strips really efficiently. So you're going to want to be very careful and keep track of each of the strips you make, or segments that you cut. So the first one is that we need an 8.5 inch piece. So you're going to overcut that first one by just a little so that you can come back and make a perfect 8.5 inch piece. Now, another way to keep organized when you're working on a quilt with this many pieces in it and a lot of cutting is to find a tray or something that you can, sometimes people will use a cookie sheet, sometimes they'll take a plastic tub, a low-edged one, so they can lay all their pieces out and keep them organized. Because there's a lot of piecing, it may be that you don't get all of the quilt pieced at one setting, because it would take a lot of hours, and you're going to want to be able to store it and come back to it. Now we also then need two 6.5 inch pieces. So we got two at 6.5, and you can see that's where the fold was. I'm almost halfway across my strip. So then we need two that are 4.5. I'll actually come from the other side so I don't have to deal with my little fold there. Two that are 4.5. And now if you want to cut a little quicker, you can take 4.5, add that together so you get two of them. That would make it 9 inches. So this is how you would do that. Overcut so that you would have at least 9 inches under your ruler. Like this. Then you can spin the piece around and cut your two 4.5 inch pieces off of it. And you'll know that you have enough to cut your segments. There's one. This is the part of the quilt that's going to take probably your most time, is getting everything cut and organized. So set up a nice clean space in your sewing area so you can get all the cutting done quickly. The last segment you need to cut is a 2.5 inch square, and you need 4 of those. So 4 times 2.5 is 10. So I'm going to cut a 10 inch piece. And you can see this is the waist, so there's not much. What I can do is a pullback method here. I can go to 7.5, which means that I have 2.5 exposed, and then I can come back to 5 and then cut that in half again so that I have my 4 2.5 inch squares. Now with this, you probably want to just keep track of all your pieces, A, B, C, and D, and stack up all of your cutting together so you can create your blocks out of this array. And you can see here I've got quite a few already cut that we can design out of, because these are going to be your building blocks for your quilt. I want to take these out. We are also going to be cutting from that white or cream color background fabric. You're going to cut into strips, and those also you're going to be cutting the C 4.5 inch blocks and D 2.5 inch squares. So these are the things that we're going to make our blocks out of. I will show you. We'll lay out one here that's already done. And as you look at the quilt, you think, well, there's more than one block in this quilt, but there isn't. It's one block, and it's positioned differently as it flips across the quilt to make those kind of, the lights pieces kind of dance through the quilt and create a wonderful design. So this is what we're looking for. There's a diagram in the pattern, so you can follow right along with that. But what we need to do is talk about how then that's constructed. So we're simply using the long triangle or the rectangles. You can see the fun part is the white squares make a diagonal cut right through the block, and we have all of our other pieces arranged. And this is where you're going to want to make sure you follow the diagram, probably mix up your colors really well so that you don't have like two purples side by side. We'll use an orange here, and then we'll lay out the white squares. I'm going to run out of space. Have those step across the block, and then we're coming back to the bottom edge. Haven't used a yellow in this block yet. This is the fun part where you get to be your own designer and have fun with all those colors and prints. We haven't used a blue yet, so that one can go there. Don't need more of the long rectangles. We can use, you could do a matching, or you can do an alternate. Since we had just used a small yellow there, I could use a long one in the same block. And then come back into the squares and pick up, oh, how about a pink? And since we have, it gets a little messy when you've got a lot of pieces to work with. So like I said, you really want to keep organized in your sewing room. Keep your blocks together. Okay, so all your squares together, rectangles. That's why we have tables off to the side that we can keep organized. We'll go through the simple construction here then, is to simply create rows, and then make sure that before you join rows together that you press your seam allowances so that everything stays nice and flat. On the back side of this block you can see I've pressed, whenever a white was joined to a print, I pressed my seam allowances towards the print, and then make sure that you again press rows as you join them together. So this is what the block looks like. Now, if you look at the actual quilt itself, you can see that the block is oriented with this long rectangle on the left of the quilt. And as we come in to put the second block in, we are orienting it like this. We do have two white squares that come together, kind of make a rectangle shape here. But as these dance across, it's position 1, 2, 3, 4, and follow your diagram for the construction of the rest of the quilt. It can get a little confusing. Just take one row at a time. You'll be fine. Then you're going to be, once you've got the center of your quilt constructed, you're adding a light inner border, and then you're using a really fun, this one uses a multi batik print as the outer border, and finish it with a bright blue binding. To make your version of Calliope, have fun, enjoy the design. For more of our Quilting Quickly tutorials, please visit our website. Thanks for joining me today.